realized that this guy right there has a lyric right there. The guy right there. That's a really interesting light pattern that they got. I really feel bad for these dudes when they need service on these things and they gotta go back to freaking Chrysler, man. I tell you, Chrysler, man, right now this service sucks. Oh, I guess it's all part of the learning process. Alright, so let's see what we got this spot. We got G-Wagons, Aston Martins, Chevy Corvettes, a bunch of Porsches. Let's see, is there anything interesting here? Looks like some McLaren, CTS, Blackwing, and another Porsche. Mostly boring. You see this? This lady right here, she is too cool. Like, I don't know why, but she's just super cool. So we're all here waiting for gas right now in Biden's economy. And it looks like premium is $4.17 and regular is $3.33. So we're all waiting right here. And we got this super cool lady right here with her BMW. Hopefully she uses her turn signals. And we're just waiting right here to get into some of this gas at $4.17, $3.33. Got this lady right here. She must be rich. She got the big old earrings on. She's driving the BMW 5. She must be rich. And I'm waiting for this lady with the stupid Kia to hurry up and move because I would really like to hurry up and get my gas. Come on, old lady, let's go. It's like, why is it taking so long? Let's go. Yeah, so everybody's upset. Gas is high because you're in the Biden. Y'all voted for Biden. Y'all deserve this. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear anybody complain. I don't want to hear nobody complain that they can't afford the Range Rover because y'all voted for Biden. So you deserve what you're getting. You deserve this. Swift kick in the ass. Let's go pump this gas. So I already know the first thing somebody's going to ask is, oh, where's your SRT? And I'd be like, yeah, my SRT is still in the fucking shop. They had to do a couple of things to it, but specifically, I had replaced the spark plugs, and then there was still a misfire. And apparently, they had to replace, I believe it was called the camshaft or something like that. So they put a new cam in there. Now, most people would have said, okay, yeah, well, if you're going to put a new cam in there, let me take this as an opportunity to put like a Arrington camshaft in there or something. But me personally, it's like I wasn't going to do that. I could, I wasn't, I didn't see any point of it. But bottom line, look at this gas, $3.33. So I'm paying $3.33 a gallon because this truck is a V6 Colorado, so it takes regular. Yeah. But yeah, gas is $4.17. So technically it's down since the last time I made a video. But the bottom line is, because of these economic sanctions and whatnot, there's always the possibility gas could rise in price again. Because right now, economic situations around the world are so unstable, you just don't know. Because they're saying that war in the Middle East could send gas to $150 a gallon. I mean, I'm sorry, not $150 a gallon, $150 a barrel. Now, there's nothing to say that that can't happen. It could happen, but we can only hope that it doesn't. We got this Lexus right here. Everybody waiting on me. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, I basically only got like half a tank of gas. I didn't really have to fill it up. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I didn't really have to fill it up because I already had some gas in there. All right, so let's get back on this wild ride. Let's get back on this wild ride of ours. Oh, man. Okay. Let's go. Getting out of the little BJ's. So I gotta get my gas at BJ's, because the thing about it is gas is fucking high everywhere. So if you go anywhere else, you're paying $4.50 for premium. You're paying like $3.50, $3.60 for regular, which is actually strange because there's like lately it looks like there's a wider gap between premium and regular than I've ever really seen it before. I've never seen the gap that wide between those two fuel costs. Look at this guy. What's this guy doing? What is this guy? Come on. Yeah, do you see where you are, Tyrone? You're in the middle of the fucking road, Tyrone. What are you doing? Tyrone, what is you doing? Oh my God. Look at this guy. Tyrone dropped something. Come on, Tyrone. Yeah, that's right. Come on. Tyrone's dropping shit. Yeah, Tyrone, you realize I'm here. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. What's this? Okay, come on. Let's go. Tyrone's trying to slow me down and everything. What is this guy doing? Come on. Let's let Miss Lucy get into the car right there. Okay, come on. Everybody get out of the way. Let's go. Oh, my God. Yep. And I'm obviously still waiting for my Cadillac. But I think I've only got about, supposedly, 1 more week worth of wait, because she said it was going to take 3 weeks. That was 1 week ago. So I'm none too happy. Oh shit, look at this guy. This guy right here. This guy got a Trackhawk, but because of the car theft, he took the Trackhawk logo off the truck. He don't want nobody to know you got a Trackhawk, because somebody will snatch your damn Jeep. They steal your damn Jeep. That guy got the Trackhawk. He up there speeding and shit. Look at this guy. He's up there speeding and shit. Look at this guy. Got the Trackhawk. I am so thankful that I didn't buy that car, because to tell you the God's honest truth, the service with those fuckers at Stellantis has gotten so goddamn bad. It's like, believe me, I am glad I didn't buy that fucking car. I'm glad I waited. Now all I gotta do is get my Cadillac. Uh-oh, come on. Watch out, guys, watch out. Watch out, Trackhawk coming through. Look at that, Trackhawk. Let's chase him, let's get him. We're gonna floor this motherfucker, let's go. Let's get the Trackhawk. We're gonna chase him. I can't keep up with that goddamn thing. I know damn well I can't keep up with that thing. If he decides to leave me, there's nothing I can do about it. I want to ask him. Right. I'm not gonna scream out there at him. I don't want that guy crashing into me. Like, mess with his attention. Yeah, I mean, I'm very disappointed. I've already stated how disappointed I am with the Trackhawk as a product. I really think they fucked up. And that's, now it's completely discontinued, so it is what it is, I think he's trying to get in front of me, because if he's really from New Jersey, he should be going this way, because that's where he could keep going that way. He could head out to the Northern State Parkway or whatever, but I don't know. I don't know what to, if I was him, I'd be speeding, I'd be fucking like way up there right now. I'd be doing like 100 miles an hour. Look at this guy. BMW sees the Trackhawk and now he gets upset. He's trying to go around him. But that guy, he's not racing. He's not racing nobody. I mean, they didn't give it a Hellcat hood. They gave it ugly fucking wheels that came off the 17 Nighthawk edition. I'm very disappointed with Jeep for that. You know, it's like they made it like they were going to make a super product or a Halo product, and they didn't do shit. It's like all they did was put the Hellcat engine in there and called it a day. The Durango looks better. Oh, yep, I figured he was going to do that. I figured he was going to get in front of me. Yep. I wanted him to get in front of me, absolutely. But, yeah, I mean, you know, the Durango Hellcat was a better product. And they just took Jeep and they took Chrysler and they said, yeah, we don't give a fuck about you. We're going to, you know, forget you exist. And that's it. I'm very disappointed. I'm very, very, very disappointed. So basically, I made up my mind. It's like, I'm done with Mopar. I'm done. And now they're going to make electric cars. They're fucking dead. Nobody who buys a Mopar wants no goddamn electric car. You think Pookie and Ray Ray want to be sitting in an electric car charging spot, who's it? Pookie and Ray Ray sitting in a charging spot, but then some of the ops see him. They're like, yo, that's Pookie over there. Pookie's charging his car. Yo, he got about an hour left. Yo, let's go get this Glock, tighten that fool up. Let's tighten him up. Pookie, let's tighten him up. Yeah, nobody wants to be sitting still in no motherfucking electric. And Pookie and Ray Ray, you know they live in the projects. They ain't got no fucking charging system in the projects. It's like, yeah, I know that some of the new apartment buildings may have chargers. Pookie and Ray Ray ain't got no damn charging system. They don't want to be in no damn projects. They want to get their car, get some gas, and they want to scurry back to their little ghetto where they came from before gentrification gets them. You know, nobody wants anybody who buys Mopar, they don't want no damn electric car. They don't want that. They don't want that. I'm very disappointed with Jeep. I mean, they could have done so much better. I think it was funny how those things sat on the lots for like a year and nobody bought them. I thought that was hilarious. But I'm very disappointed with them. And the service sucks real bad. Oh, Ferrari. From Montana? Really? Montana. Jeez. Okay, so I'm going to make this a relatively short video. When I say short, I end up usually running over because sometimes things come to mind that I want to mention, and I end up talking longer than I expected. So, but I really believe that I'm going to make this a short video. So I'm just going to say that at the outset. So right now, the Dow Jones is up about 500 points today. And that's after, I'll say this week, it took a big dip. The low of the week, if you look at this entire month, the low of the week was Dow 32,334 points, 32,334. Now, in one day, they were saying in the news the Dow rose about 500 points. So, as you can see right here, it says Market Watch, Dow Jones surges more than 500 points as stocks snap a 3-day losing streak. So, bottom line is, for reasons that were pretty much totally unforeseen by just about everyone, the Dow Jones is considerably lower than it was, I'll say, post-COVID pandemic, but prior to Russia invading Ukraine. Nobody could have really expected that on the stock market. Nobody would have even mentioned that. And nobody could have imagined the global implications that it would have had. I was lucky because I was purchasing oil stock and gas stock prior to the Russia versus Ukraine situation happening. The Russia versus Ukraine situation caused America to put sanctions on Russia And Russia had been importing a lot of cheap oil. And because we put sanctions on Russia, it caused our oil prices to explode. Now, I sold a large percentage of oil that I was holding. And when I sold it, I was basically just sitting on profits. And I am to this day sitting on the profits because I'm waiting for my electric Cadillac to arrive. And I know some people are, tired of hearing me say that, but I guess you're as tired of me saying it as I am of saying it. A problem that nobody could have imagined was that the UAW, GM, Ford, and Stellantis were going to stage strikes. They built my car, and my car was in Tennessee awaiting shipment here to New York City. And thanks to the UAW strike and these people who make all these crazy demands, they want like 4-day work weeks and they want 30% more pay and everything. Well, thanks to them, I've had to wait an just a ridiculously abnormally long amount of time, wherein without the UAW strike, I would not have. So the last statement that I got when I checked was that my vehicle is on its way. But the problem is the very last train that it was supposed to be on, well, the UAW strikers decided, hey, they were like, hey, you see that? That's Big Truck Series car. Let's not put it on the train. So sure enough, they didn't put it on the train. And the car is still in transit, and it's just taken a ridiculous, it's just a ridiculous amount of time that I've had to wait. But I am a very, very patient person, and I have other means, so I'm not the type of person who just, and there's a lot of people I know who said, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to cancel my order and I'm going to go buy something else. Well, then you run into a couple of issues. First of all, I specifically wanted an electric vehicle, and I wasn't so easily going to just go out and buy another gasoline-powered car because I specifically wanted an electric vehicle. So now you're left with only a handful of choices. You got the BMW iX, you got the Mercedes EQS SUV, you've got Audi e-tron, and then after that, there's really not a lot of choices because the majority of these cars, these electric cars, which I'm going to get to in a minute, but they want to understand why is it that these things aren't selling well. Now, first of all, you've probably heard them talking a lot about electric vehicles not moving very well. But the bottom line is nothing is moving very well right now. Nothing is selling. So I think it's it's just unfair to just point at electric vehicles. The interest rates that are on most of these cars right now, if you're going to buy a new car, the interest rates are like 8% or 12%, depending upon where you're going. And that's assuming you have excellent credit. I have an 850 FICO score. My auto adjusted score is still above 800, whatever it is. I'm in the superb credit category. The problem ultimately is that even if you have excellent credit, the interest rates are still sky high. Now, that means that if you want to finance or if you want to lease. Now, originally, I thought, you know what, I'm going to buy this car outright so that there's no car note. And then I thought about it, and I was like, wait a minute. There are people who are experiencing problems with these things. There are people who are experiencing glitches. Their 12-volt batteries failing. There's people they've had problems with some of these cars in general, right? I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Why buy this car and spend my cash when I could just lease it? And if I don't like it at the end of the lease, I can give it back. If I do like it at the end of the lease, I can refinance it. And if I want to move on to the Escalade IQ, I can move on to the Escalade IQ and I can wash my hands and I don't have to worry about negative equity. Now, that's the real reason why most rich people lease cars. It's because they don't want negative equity. And on top of that, they don't want to get stuck with a product that may or may not be a lemon. Or if they're just not happy with it, they want to get something else. They can just go get something else. For example, one person in my family during the pandemic, she bought a GLE Mercedes truck. Now, it was a nice truck. It had all the features that I could imagine that you'd get in that truck at that price point. It wasn't an AMG model, but it was a nice truck. She just decided, I don't want this truck anymore, and I want a new truck. So she went out and got a GLE Sport. Now, she's got more than enough money. She's got excellent credit. And basically, she could just do whatever she wants. And the thing about it is a lot of other people really don't have it like that right now. So the issue ultimately comes down to, it's like, even if you have great credit, you may run into a vehicle that you can't afford simply because maybe they've marked it up considerably. Or maybe you have cash money and you don't want to spend it because you don't know what's happening with this economy and you don't know where it's going to be a couple of months from now. So leasing to some people makes more sense. I will say this. It makes sense to lease if you don't need a whole lot of mileage. If you're not the type of person who takes road trips. I do not take road trips anywhere further than about 300 miles. I'm flying there. If I really want to, I can rent a plane and I can fly somewhere from my flying club because my flying club actually has planes that you can rent. I would never be driving that far. I'm not doing it. So that's just how I feel about it. It's like 300 miles. No, I'm not doing it. Now, I know there's some people that are like, oh, yeah, well, I could drive 1,000 miles a day. I could drive from New York to Florida in one sitting. It's like, that's not me. I don't do stuff like that. If I drive even 200 miles, I'm stopping after the first 100 miles or something, and I'm taking a shit. I'm taking a nap. I'm going to the Bojangles or whatever it is on the road. It's like, I don't like doing those kind of drives. And I know, some people listen, 100 miles, you're lazy. I'm like, yeah, you're right, I am. That's it. I went up to Portland, Maine, for example. Now, this is a little side conversation. I went up to Portland, Maine, and if I'm not mistaken, I actually made a video of going up to Portland, Maine, if I'm not mistaken. And I went to Portland, Maine. There was, like, nothing there. But the thing about it is Portland, Maine is like, I think it's like 400 miles from New York City, or I don't even think it's that far. I think it's more like 300 and something miles or something. I could have drove. I didn't drive. I just went to John F. Kennedy. I got on a plane, flew up there, and then I flew back, and that was it. It's like, I'm not doing road trips. That's the bottom line. If I go to Florida, I'm not doing no road trip. Some people, well, you could see America. It's like, listen, first of all, there's trigger-happy carjackers. There's trigger-happy cops. There are cops waiting in the bushes with radar guns. And there's cops that would love to just pull my ass over. I'm not trying to see America. If I want to go see someplace, it's going to be someplace outside America. So I'm not trying to do any sightseeing right now. And you, by the way, America is really fucking violent right now. You may have noticed I mentioned Maine. You saw what happened up in Maine. Nothing happens in Maine, and now something happens in Maine. And it's a bowling alley. Of all the places, it's a bowling alley. It's like you take the most boring place in the entire state and you say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to light this place up, and now you got a problem. It's like the last time Maine had a problem, there was a sex scandal with a Zumba teacher. It's like nothing happens up in Maine. Nothing. And now something happens up in Maine. I ain't trying to see this country. I'm sorry. I'm not. If I want to see the country, I'll go to another country that's safe. No trigger-happy cops. Cops have no guns. I'll go to a place with people have no guns. Cops have no guns. There's no crime because the people are terrified of their government. And if they do something to a tourist, they're going to be hung or hanged, I should say. Those are the countries I like to go to. Like, for instance, my next trip, I should say my next trips. One is to Bali, Indonesia, and the other one is to Bora Bora. Now, I don't know about the laws in Bora Bora, but what I do know is in Bali, Indonesia, they don't have a problem with drugs and they don't have a problem with shootings and stuff like that because if they have any infractions, they execute the criminals. So there's no problem there. There's no problems. It was like I went to Seychelles. They had no crime rate. There was like no crime at all when I went there. I don't know about now, but chances are it's still relatively low. I go to places where you can just enjoy it. You don't have to worry about nothing. America is a place I'm not trying to drive around, okay? I'm not trying to go to Maine no more. I'm not trying to go anywhere when nothing's happening because chances are one of these psychopaths is going to make something happen. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to go to the nice beach where you got the nice young chick rubbing you down with coconut oil and serving you buko juice. I'm not trying to go to Maine. I ain't trying to go to New Jersey. I'm not trying to do that. So anyway, let's get back to this market. Okay, so Ford, GM, and Stellantis are down. Now, I would recommend that now that the UAW has reached a tentative agreement to end the strike, I would recommend that if you had the money, that you buy yourself some Ford. Ford, GM, and Stellantis all pay dividends. Now, GM is way down. GM is 27.36 right now, but they're still paying their 1.37 yield. Now, it's not a very high yield, but the thing about it is it all depends what you can afford to buy. Ford is probably the easier buy for most people. They're paying a 6.02% yield, and right now the stock is less than $10. So that means that if you've got $1,000, you can set yourself up with a decent number of shares. Stellantis is paying 8.22%, and they're $18 right now. But see, I got Stellantis back when it was FCA, and I got a lot of shares in Stellantis, and I got a lot of shares in Ford because I bought during the first bailout. That was 2009. And I also bought during the 2020 COVID pandemic. And then I bought more recently. So the automakers, right now, they're all down. And if you didn't own oil maker shares, first of all, they're dividend payers. And then on top of being dividend payers, for the most part, they're recession proof because even when we had COVID, they just turned them into factories and then they started reproducing, PPE or personal protective equipment. A quick mention. There were some people who tried to troll me. Oh, yeah, Bitcoin, we're going to the moon. We're going to Jupiter. And I was like, no, you're not. What you're witnessing, however, is you're witnessing some people dropping out of the stock market and putting their money into crypto, specifically Bitcoin. But what you're also witnessing is some people dropping out of the market and they're putting their money into gold. Right now, gold is 2005. Within this week, it shot up to 2020, but now it's back to 2005. And I have to say something about gold and Bitcoin. There is a huge difference, and I know there's going to be some people want to disagree with me, but I really don't care, because you can do whatever you want with your money. But when you see me on those beaches, when you see me with them young chicks rubbing me down with coconut oil and serving me buko juice, you're going to wonder, how did I get there? And I'm going to tell you, well, go watch my videos, because I told you how I got here. So the bottom line is this. Gold is a terrible investment. And I'm just going to say it just like that. There's some people, I know some people who have gold in real life. They got safes, they got gold coins. Some of them even got gold bullion. Like they went to fucking Costco of all places. And Costco's selling gold. And they're buying gold bars from Costco. Now, let me just explain this. And I can give you a URL for this video. And there's also a URL for a report that was published by somebody who's like an actual he's an economics professional. And the reality is gold is a terrible investment. And the problem with gold, just like the problem with Bitcoin is a terrible investment. Now, I'm not even going to bother getting into the fact that people who were investing up until 68,000 Bitcoin, people invested over 50,000 Bitcoin, I'm not going to even get to the point that they've lost more than 65% of their value. They've lost more than 65% of their money evaporated. Even though they're at 34,000 right now, more than 60% of their money evaporated. Nayib Bukele down in El Salvador and Elon Musk are two names that come to mind because they bought over 55,000 and then they bought again when the dip to 50,000 because they were 100% certain they were going to the moon. Gold is a terrible investment because it just sits there and it does nothing. Bitcoin is a terrible investment. It sits there and it does nothing. It doesn't pay a dividend. Gold doesn't pay a dividend. Now, what they are, however, they're terrible investments, but what they are inflation hedges. Now, the point of an inflation hedge is basically to try to hold the value of your money because you believe that inflation is going to reduce the value of your money otherwise. Gold is not a good inflation hedge. Right now, it's only like 2,000. It's a little above 2,000. In order for gold to have been a good inflation hedge over the last 20 or 30 years, it should have risen beyond $4,000. But right now, you can see that it's only around 2,000. It's a terrible inflation hedge. In that same amount of time, let's say 20 or 30 years, whichever one you want, if you want to go since 2001, in that same amount of time, that's 23 years right there. In that same amount of time, look at the stock market. Look at the S&P 500. Look at the Dow Jones. In that same amount of time, you would have done far better in terms of returns to put your money in either dividend-paying stocks, specifically the companies Microsoft, Apple, over that period of time, Google, not Amazon, because Amazon doesn't pay a dividend, and not Tesla either, since Tesla really only came about around 2012 that you could buy it. So Tesla and Amazon wouldn't be good examples. But Microsoft, Apple, oil stocks, for example, gas stocks, things like that, those things would have actually continued to pay you a dividend. So while your money is sitting there, not only would your money have appreciated, as you know that Microsoft and Apple have gone basically to the moon, but your money not only would have appreciated the value of your shares, but on top of that, you would have been continuing to get dividends every single year over year. Another example, since 1990, if you had to put money, let's say you had $10,000. If you put that $10,000 into Berkshire Hathaway, that $10,000 would be worth over $500,000 right now. Had you put that $10,000 into gold, you'd probably have only seen less than $80,000. But had you put it in Berkshire Hathaway, you'd have been at $500,000. So gold is a terrible investment. It doesn't do anything. It just sits there and it just sits there. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't pay you a dividend. On top of that, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies do not pay dividends. And some people are, oh, yeah, they do. You can get dividends. But they say that because they don't understand what dividends are. Dividends are when a company takes its profits and it writes checks or it sends direct deposits, whatever it is, back to its shareholders, their investors. So that's when they take profit and they share it. That's a dividend. Bitcoin makes no profit. Bitcoin is not a company. It makes no profit. It's a digital commodity. It's a speculative asset, the same as Ethereum, the same as Litecoin. They oh yeah, you can stake your money. You can stake it. You know who the last person I heard talking that bullshit was? It was Alex Mashinsky. Oh yeah, well I can get you a 10% returns. That's what he was saying. Peter Schiff questions him. He's like, wait a minute. How are you going to give 10% returns when the banks aren't even giving you 5% returns? How are you doing 10? Sure enough, Alex Mashinsky and Sam Bankman-Fried are both, what is it? Sam Bankman-Fried's on the witness stand. No, I'm sorry. He's a defendant. He's on the defendant testifying to save his ass. And Alex Mashinsky, I believe, is in jail right now. So you can look that up because obviously I can't make this shit up. But the bottom line is, I believe gold and cryptocurrency are terrible investments. I don't give a shit what the value is. First of all, they've been lying to you for the last couple of years. Hey, you're going to 100,000. You're going to the moon. I never saw it get above 70, and 100,000 is never happening. The Federal Reserve has raised interest rates. Money's not cheap to borrow anymore. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. There's no welfare checks being printed to hand to children to invest in their Robinhood accounts. I think it's so sad that when they were printing them stimulus checks, that everybody and their mama came up with a way to get these kids to put their money into stuff that they didn't even understand. GameStop, you remember that? Oh yeah, we're going to the moon. We're going to Pluto. Rocket ship, diamond hands. You remember all that nonsense? I was like the one person saying, listen, keep your money out of that shit. Stay away from it. You're going to get screwed. Sure enough, you got the pause, Robin Hood's, oh shit, flick the switch. We turned off, blah, blah, blah. And look what GameStop is now. AMC. Oh yeah, we're going to the moon. We're going to Pluto. No, it didn't happen. Now, I do like AMC as a company, but I do recognize that AMC is not profitable. You can go into an AMC, sit down, watch a movie, and you understand right away why they're not profitable. Bottom line is this. Those are terrible investments. I don't consider those investments. And at this point, I'm doubling and tripling down on dividend paying stock. Warren Buffett was 100% right. And it's a damn shame that they don't talk more about Warren Buffett and they focus on these people who are trying to game the system. Let me tell you something. And it relates to YouTube specifically. YouTube has been demonetizing platforms. I have not been demonetized, but YouTube has been shadow banning. YouTube has been demonetizing. And the thing about it is, for me, and I've explained this before, YouTube is a tax strategy. Using YouTube, I file 1099 as a journalist. When I do my tax, I file 1099 as a journalist. I've mentioned this before. Understand what this means. If I decide to get up right now and fly to Bora Bora, I can write off that trip as a business expense, not a vacation, because when I go there, I'm conducting work. I'm videotaping and vlogging and blagging and whatever. That's work. That's self-employment. That's 1099 self-employment. So I'm writing off business trips. I'm writing off business class tickets on planes as business expenses. Legally. If I want to rent a car when I go away, that's a business expense. And the mileage and the fuel you use for it, that's a business expense. So to me, YouTube is a tax strategy. Now, the money that I get from YouTube, I've explained this numerous times. I've been taking that money and using it in the stock market to appropriate more dividend-paying stock. More than 80% of all the money that I've made off YouTube is in Charles Schwab right now. Charles Schwab is, a broker. It used to be in TD Ameritrade. It used to be in Scottrade. But now I'm specifically with Charles Schwab. So the bottom line is that money is making me more money because of the dividends. And I've tried to explain it. I've made videos about this before. I've tried to explain this. That money that I put in to Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, especially Tesla, Google, Amazon, oil stocks, gas companies, that money is still making me money specifically because of the dividends. That's what you need to be focusing on. You need to be focusing on dividend-paying stock and building up a dividend portfolio. So that's the reason why, despite being in the red, I'm telling you about GM, Ford, Stellantis at this moment right now. Because Ford is under $10. So that means if you got $1,000, you can buy yourself a serious amount of shares in Ford. Or you could do the same thing with Stellantis, except Stellantis is twice as much. It's $18. And then you got GM, which is, closer to, what is it, 27 or something? I can't remember. Now, Tesla is down right now, but I'm not worried about Tesla. Tesla's going to come right back. Tesla's got cars coming, and those cars are, the people have been waiting for that Cybertruck. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Elon Musk said that the Cybertruck isn't going to start being delivered until November 30th. It looks like I'm going to get my car slightly before the first Cybertruck buyer gets their Cybertruck. They've been waiting for their Cybertruck much longer than I've been waiting for the Lyriq. I've been waiting for my Lyriq for roughly, since May 2022. I've been waiting for my Lyriq over a year. So it's a year and some months. The Tesla Roadster and the Tesla Cybertruck people, they've been literally waiting for those cars for damn near 4 years. So they've outwaited me. I'm not worried about Tesla. Tesla will be back. I'm not worried about them. Amazon, Google, they're doing what they're doing. But because of the fact that you've got these fluctuations with the market, in China, and China's having problems and they're not producing as much, they're not shipping as much. Amazon and Google, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these stocks, especially like Walmart, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them have gone down. I wouldn't be surprised at all. China is shipping us less material. They're shipping us less finished products, I should say. Intel. Now, I was telling you guys about Intel when I was talking. Look at this. Look at this performance on Intel. So Intel jumped from, what is this, 32 to 35, and it's maintaining close to 36. I was telling you about Intel because of the chip market. Intel, AMD, that's why you see all these things together. Intel, AMD, Micron. I told you about, now you know I told you about Micron. I was telling you all about Micron when and you know what? I'm saying the same thing over and over and over. I was telling you about Intel, Micron, AMD. I was telling you about these things a long time ago. Now, NVIDIA is what blew the market up with the AI. And I have to say, some of the things that I'm seeing being done with AI are amazing. For example, you don't need a GPU on a laptop anymore because now with Meteor-like processors coming from Intel, they have the ability to give you playable frame rates with the CPU alone. And then the CPU is using AI in order to upscale 720p and create 1080p video when you're playing video games. Now, if that's capable of doing that, then that means that the more powerful CPUs will eventually be capable of upscaling to 4K. And you may or may not need a GPU for upscale laptops that may be sold at a lower price. And I think that's remarkable. Now, NVIDIA is selling a lot of chips. They're selling a lot of AI-based chips. They're selling a lot of automotive chips. And then there's Micron, which is trying to rise up to be basically the next NVIDIA because America's afraid that China might try to take over Taiwan, or at least that's what they're saying. So my thing is, just like I was telling you about AMD back when it was less than $50, I'm telling you about Micron now. Micron has gone up more than $6, and it has maintained that high. So that means that the bottom of Micron's coming up. So the thing about it is Micron also pays you a dividend of 0.7 per share. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot right now, but you have to remember, dividends don't usually stay the same. In fact, Ford was it was a 2% dividend when they started repaying the dividend. And then they raised it up, and now it's like 6. So dividends don't always stay the same. Sometimes they increase depending upon profitability. Sometimes they decrease. But for the most part, a lot of companies, in order to keep you from taking your investment out, they'll pay you a higher dividend just to make sure you don't take your money out. So even if they're not making a whole lot of revenue, a lot of times they'll actually pay you a better dividend. And I think one of the better examples of that are the cigarette companies, because there's a lot of cigarette companies that have very high dividends, but they're afraid people would take their investment out because they think that people don't agree with the company, selling cigarettes. So a lot of times, dividends, is something that you have to kind of chase them a little bit, kind of like Warren Buffett does. But I think that that's the strategy that you definitely want to adopt. Now, you can do whatever you want, but I know what I'm doing. Because the thing about it is when I'm retired and I'm on that beach and I got this wife half my age rubbing me down, it's like, people are, oh, how'd you get there? I'll be like, well, hey, I got these stock accounts over here paying me enough money to, afford my rent per month. So, I'm just chilling, and that's just like that. But other than that, the electric car companies, they're getting knocked around a little bit. But for the most part, the investment is there. Like Ford and GM may try to back away from the table a little bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if Stellantis does the exact same thing. But the interesting thing about it is the Chinese are making a killing with their EVs. Right now, their EVs are doing very, very, very well. So that means that if Ford and GM and Stellantis, if they pull back, especially from the international market, the Chinese are going to make up for the gap that they've left by moving more and more electric vehicles. So you could say whatever you want. Oh, yeah, I don't like EVs. I just want gas. Well, first of all, this government is killing the V8 engine. Like, the only time you'll see a V8 is probably in a truck. They're killing that. Ford already killed off their V8s for the most part. They've got very few. The Lincoln Navigator has a twin turbo 6. The largest Ford Expedition has a twin turbo 6. They already did it. Stellantis is pushing the Hurricane i6 engine, which is a twin turbo i6. So you're not going to see V8s no more. And the way I feel about it, once that Hemi is gone, Dodge is dead as far as I'm concerned. Dead. Once they have no Hemi to sell, they're dead. Because the problem is, and I'm just going to be honest, the problem is the people who are buying their product right now are buying their product in order to show off. And that's what it comes down to. They don't want practicality. They want waste. That's how I feel about it. They want waste. They want to be able to show off their car. They want to be able to show off how loud their car is. And you ain't getting that with no damn twin-turbo V6. You're not getting it. Once Dodge gives up them Hemis and them V8s, they are dead. Tim Kuniskis knows it. Stellantis knows it. Everybody up in Dodge knows it. It's over. And that's just what it is. So you've got to start thinking practical. Now, I don't expect everybody to be able to get an electric car. I understand that there's people who have no place to charge these things. I understand there's people with no garages. But if you're the type of person who's got a house and you have a garage and you have enough money for a car, a daily driver, and you're not the type of person who takes these crazy road trips, or you don't have a very big family, you're the type of person who probably already has an EV. And I would say that a lot of people who have EVs right now, especially if they have houses to charge them, I think most of them are probably happy with their purchase, because especially when they pass by a gas station, they see that Biden gas is more than $4 a gallon for premium, or in many cases, $4 a gallon regular. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of people pass by these gas stations looking at Biden gas. I don't think they're too happy about what's going on. I can't really think about too many other things that I'd focus on right now, but oil is doing its thing. Most of the oil companies are considerably up. The commodity itself, oil is, up for the gallon, or I should say the barrel, but gas prices haven't risen too much very recently. In fact, they actually slightly went down. I know premium went down from like $4.20 to about $4.13, but that's still you're paying $4 more than you may pay more than $4.10 for a gallon, and we're about to enter winter. Like, I can think back over my entire driving career, and I can't remember a time when you were paying more than $4 a gallon. And the only time I can think of was Hurricane Katrina, and that was 2005. But now, because of all the missteps this government has taken, you're spending more than $4 a gallon on premium unleaded. And the sad thing is, because most people, if they have these twin turbo V6s and these twin turbo 4-cylinders, chances are you need to use premium just to make sure you get peak torque and peak power out of the engine. Some of these cars don't behave well if you have regular unleaded. So I think that they actually basically, by turbocharging these engines, they've basically suckered you into using more expensive fuel. That's my opinion. So it is what it is. Now, as far as the banks, I love the banks just like I love the oil. Capital One is doing great. JP Morgan is doing great. Now, the banks, people are, how should I say, not paying their credit cards in many cases on time. But for the most part, the banks are stable. Wells Fargo's okay. Bank of America's okay. There's lots of possible things that you can get dividends from if you can afford their shares. MasterCard and Visa, I noticed MasterCard took a huge dip because these people not paying on their credit cards regularly. Like, MasterCard is $372 right now. Now, as you can see, within the week, MasterCard dropped from $389 down to this $361 level. But it was less than a month ago that they were $400 something dollars. Now, I believe in the strength of MasterCard, and I absolutely believe in the strength of Visa too. It's just that, again, we're facing some serious economic problems. I mean, you got to remember, student loans are due. These people are going to be expected to pay these student loans back. And some people are going to have problems making the payments on their student loans and the payments on their credit cards and the payments on their rent and the payments on their car. Repossessions of cars are up. I've seen more boots within the last couple of months than I've seen all my life. So it's stagflation, and that's a term that they don't want to use because that basically reminds a lot of people of the Jimmy Carter years. As far as I'm concerned, Joe Biden is Jimmy Carter Part 2, as far as I'm concerned. Now, Jimmy Carter existed before I was born, but the thing about it is the malaise, and that's another word that was associated very closely with the Carter administration. The malaise is here. The economic crisis is here. The stagflation is here. We're feeling it. Just like Jimmy Carter was a one-term president, I absolutely expect the exact same for Biden. Because Biden, is losing young people as voters. He's losing them. Under 30, Biden's losing them if he hasn't already lost them all. And then I think about what's happening in the Middle East. Young people see this as slaughter and genocide of the Palestinians, no matter how you slice it. They don't see this, like, I know if you watch certain channels, they present it a certain way, but young people are against this entirely. They're against the Israeli response and retaliation. They're against it. No matter how you slice it, they're against it. They're also against the Biden administration's handling of it. So now you've got demographics that you need. You absolutely need a demographic to win, and you've lost them. So I'm just saying it like this. I don't know exactly what the chips are going to be like because we don't even know exactly who's going to be running for president next year because we're entering November. We're a year from now will be the election. And we don't even know 100% about who's going to absolutely be running yet. But the way I see it is Joe Biden's a one-term president. I think that much is obvious at this point. So bottom line is this. You need to look out for your money. And all I'm doing is making recommendations. You ain't got to follow none of them. You can keep putting all your money into Dogecoin if you want. That's up to you. But all I know is the dividend-paying stock accounts that I've built and am still building. What I do know is I'm seeing the returns. And when I was thinking about YouTube, one other thing I was going to say about YouTube, as you know, they've been canceling and demonetizing some people on here who have openly been preaching hate speech and whatnot. The bottom line is, listen, they're free to say whatever they want, but YouTube isn't going to tolerate it on their platform. Okay, fine. The issue ultimately comes down to these people know that YouTube is probably the largest distributor because it's connected directly to Google. YouTube is pretty much the largest, most well-known distributor of video on the internet, and they know that. So the reality is if you get demonetized on YouTube, you take a huge financial hit, even if you move on to other platforms and start using those. My bottom line was, how do I make this YouTube money last? And for me, the answer was put it in the stock market, put it into dividends, put it into dividend-paying stock. Now, I'm pretty sure most of these other people who've, been on YouTube, I've already seen, like, you think about people like Fresh and Fit, they've put their money into real estate. They've bought apartments, condos, such and such. I totally agree with that because, in fact, as far as I'm concerned, real estate is an even better investment than the stock market is. Because the thing about it is, at the end of the day, I can't live in the stock market. I can live in a condo. I can live in an apartment. So I do agree with that. But, there are some people who took all their YouTube money and put it into cryptocurrency. They pretty much lost a large percentage of it, too. But my bottom line is making that money continue to make more money and more money and more money, more money, more money, more money, more money. That's my focus. So that's all I really had to say right now. So, you could mention and critique me or whatever. You can make comments or whatever. But that's what I've been thinking about lately. And I would have made a video earlier. In fact, I am going to make another video this week because I'm going to go to a BMW event. They are, what is it called? They're showing off the new electric BMW, the i5. And as you know, I've already videoed you. I've made videos so that you can see it of the i7. And I've already made videos of the iX. And I also made video of the i4. So, I've put every time a new electric car comes out, I pretty much go and I either drive it or test it out or whatever immediately, right? So, me personally, I don't like BMW's looks. I think those things look gaudy, and I think it's funny because the older BMW, I think, what was it, the 2010, 2011, and even up until like the 2014, 15, like the older BMWs, I always like the 7 Series because I like a big car, a big, long, powerful car. I always like the 7 Series. I really like the i7. And they have lease deals for $12.99 a month. I think that's too much to pay for that car. I think BMW's exterior styling is gaudy as hell. And I think its interior styling is gaudy too. Now, I do like, how the i7 has that rear television and everything. And I like the seats and everything. But that's absolutely not the type of car for me. I like the iX, and I like the lease deals they have on the iX. I just hate the way the iX looks. I think it looks so gaudy. Like the X5 is nice, but the iX, I think it just looks a little too gaudy. So, I'm going to BMW because I was invited to come. And, I'm going to make a video about the i5 unveiling and whatever. And I'm pretty sure they're going to have a party and they're going to have drinks and food. And because that video that I made of the XM event that I was invited to, I mean, that was a very expensive party. And I really, really enjoyed being in. First of all, I'm happy to be invited to it. And I really enjoyed being there. But that was a $160,000 car. My thing is, you just hosted a party to launch a car that's $160,000. Who do you think is going to buy this thing in a recession? It didn't make any sense. Not only that, I drove the XM. I made a video driving the XM, and I didn't like driving the XM. I felt that it was the transmission sucked. The car didn't. The car didn't know what it wanted to be. I would have liked the XM more if it was just a big electric vehicle, but that's not what they made it. They made it to be a hybrid, and I didn't like it. I think I didn't like the way it drives. I didn't like the way it sounded. I damn sure didn't like the price because I was like, wait a minute, who the hell would pay $160,000 for this? Because there's so many other choices, especially at that price range. But I appreciate being invited to a party like that. I mean, they had an open bar. They had nice catering. It was really, really luxurious and everything. It was really they had, a lot of, upper class, not really celebrities, but it was really nice. So, now I'm going to do this i5 thing. And, I'm pretty sure I'll like the i5. I'm pretty sure it's a car I'd never buy. I'm going to make a video of the i5 this week. So I know there's some people wondering, why haven't I made any videos lately? It's because, frankly, there's not been a lot to talk about. It's there's either the wars or the economy. It's not really a lot to talk about right now. So that's all I really had to say. So, if you have questions, comments, criticisms, feel free to put those in the URL section.
To be continued.